Moneymakers, good day! My name is Paul Du Plessis, aka the EMS guy. Welcome to this channel. I hope you've liked and watched my previous videos. If you haven't, make sure to check it out. Today's topic is about the national government and we're talking about money. You're right, the budget. And we're going to focus on the income and expenses. So this is the first video of the two. So make sure you watch this. Check out the second one. Let's do this.
That's close and given.
What do you mean the budget does not work out? The expense is more than the income. That's impossible. Last week we had the meeting. Just hold on, sorry. Listen, I want to report on this before the end of the day. Okay, thank you. Bye. Great. So in this video, as you saw, we're talking about the budget. So today, let's discuss this together. And at the end, we're going to focus on personal versus the national budget. Okay, so let's dig in. When we talk about a personal budget, that means what? It's how you spend your money, how you plan to spend your money. So if you take your pocket money and you want to save it, but you can't save all of it, that would be 100%. But you still have expenses to cover, correct? So you need to plan how you're going to spend your money. That is the first thing that you have to do. So budget, in essence, is a plan of action of how to spend your money, but you have to first know how much do I have and how much do I want to spend. And you must make sure that you have more than what you need to spend. Otherwise, you're spending way too much money. So, second question that I want to ask you is, who's responsible for your budget? The answer is you. It's not your parents. If you can't budget, you're going to overspend month on month and not get through with your money. That's a life skill. So if you don't have a budget, you better start budgeting. Third one, when do we create our budgets? That we should do at the start of every month. We should revise our previous month's budget to see, did we use this? Did we buy this? Did we use the money efficiently? Or did I overspend here? Did I do this? Do I need more here? And then we can actually start to getting to alignment of what we need, of what the actual income is and what the actual expenses is. And when we do that, then we can actually plan to say, you know what? I don't need to spend that money. I can save it. And then your money starts working for you. Okay. So let's talk about the government. Do you think a government has budgets? Obviously. Do you think a business has a budget? In my intro, you saw they have a budget. Why? If a business cannot budget, then they will never know if they truly make a profit. They'll never know how much money they have because they've not planned for it. There's one saying that says, if you fail to plan, you're actually planning to fail. Take a mental note. So if you look at the screen, you'll see the 2020 budget of the government in figures. And that's what the Minister of Finance does every year. So when we look at the budget at the top right of your screen, we know that the Minister of Finance, he has to revise that every year. It's an annual thing. Why? The income levels change. Costs go up. Inflation occurs. The government needs to spend more depending on what the direction of where the government wants to go. Where the president says at SONA, we are going in this direction. Then everyone gets on the train and then they go that way. If the government says, or if the president says, this is the direction of South Africa, then they need to follow. But then the budget needs to be adjusted. That's why we do it that quickly. So when is it? It's every year and it's normally done in February. Ours this year, 2022, is coming up the 23rd of February. So by the time you've watched this video, it would have been completed already. At the bottom you can see who's our current Minister of Finance. You can see that he's busy with the National Treasury. That is his National Treasury. That is his department. So he's at head and he makes sure that his department is running the show properly. And they plan all the income and expenses for the year in 12 months. And we call that normally a fiscal year, from the 1st of March to the end of February in the next year. So make sure you know what's a fiscal year. Here you can quickly see a budget overview. That was last year's budget. That you can see the expenses in red and the revenue in green. Now I've prepared a quick slideshow after this to give you a bit of a bigger overview. So when you look at your budget, you need to make sure, and the government needs to make sure what their current income is, right? And that's when they say, what is the total income? It's all the taxes that we receive. What's the expenses? It's all the money we have to give out. Now, if their income is more than their expenses, we have a surplus, we have left over. But the difference is, if there's more expenses than income, they have a budget deficit. Then the government needs to make a plan. So in this graph, you can see on the left hand side is the total expenses for the 21-22 budget, right? You can see it's 2020 probably, so it's actually 2020 billion rand versus the income, which is at 1,540 billion rand. And there you can see in the stipple lines, right, the dotted lines, that is the deficit that the government needs to overcome, because they've planned for all of these expenses. They need to make sure that they get more money, and they can't charge us now more taxes, so they must make another plan. And this is what we call, they will take out a loan. So, but first, the income is the taxes. Taxes is the government's biggest part of their revenue collection. You can see at the top it's personal income tax, VAT is the next one, corporate income tax, and all the different types of tax, sin tax, custom duties, fuel levies, all the tax that they collect. Only a small part is from donations or from taking a loan from the International Monetary Fund. So that is direct money that they get. So it's your direct taxes, which is your personal income tax. That's money that the government receives directly from us, that our employers pay them directly. But then we have an indirect tax, which is all the smaller different types of taxes. And this is your value-added tax. When you go to a shop and you buy something, buy milk and bread, Coca-Cola, you're paying VAT. Coke has got so much sugar in that you're paying a sugar tax. If someone buys cigarettes or alcohol, they're paying an excise tax, or we call it sin tax. So these are all the indirect taxes that we pay as consumers in order that the government takes a cut to make sure that their income is sustained. Okay, and then I told you the way that they bridge their deficit is by taking out a loan. Where do they do it? At the top you can see in this presentation, it's at the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. They've got different other types of income as well, so they can get donations, administrative income, commercial income, and the sale or rent of government property. So I'll just give a short example of what is administrative income. That's when you go to your nearest municipal building and you want to get a new driver's license, right? That's administrative function they do, and you're paying for that service, but that money goes to Treasury. All right. As you can see in the previous slide with the expenses we listed, the government can actually divide this into 3 different sections. So the first one is a functional classification. This is the function that they render, a service that they render to us. You can see it's social services, economic services, when they provide education, housing, security. That's a function that the government fulfills to us. There is also administrative, right? This is when someone like the Minister of Department of Health, they have an administrative function to fulfill. And they have to organize and control their spending. That is not like a specific function like let's build a government hospital, but it's more to be placed in an administrative setting. And the last one is a financial one. This is how they record their financial or spending patterns. So this is accounting 101 like businesses, and that's how we get a report at the end of a fiscal year to see how they've spent their money. So in this video we've learned what's the income of a government, the expenses, what happens if it's not aligned, and why the government uses it. So let's shift our education.